I'm Terry Shepard. Being a confident podcast guest is a skill that can be learned. And that's why I wrote How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. It's a sweet and short primer that teaches you about the gear, the appearance, and the messaging that can grab and hold today's micro attention spans and motivate your listeners to take action. How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. The digital version is just $1.99 at Amazon. Grab your copy today and sell more books tomorrow.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
What happens when a retired boxer with a soft heart and a knockout punch trades a peaceful weekend in the wilderness for a murder investigation? Well, today's guest invites us back into the world of Raquel Rocky Nelson, where danger doesn't just lurk in the ring, it hides deep in the shadows of the Sierra Nevadas. Karen Ann Phillips returns with Deadly Hook, the third installment in her Rocky Nelson series, blending humor, heart, and high-stakes suspense. What begins as a carefree camping trip quickly spirals into something far more sinister when a Bigfoot sighting draws one of the group into the woods and leaves him as the prime suspect in a shocking death. Karen Ann Phillips, it's great to have you back. Thanks for coming.
Great to be here, Terry. That was an excellent opening. Thank you.
Every one of your Rocky stories just keeps getting better. Where do the ideas come from?
Oh, my gosh. I get ideas from everything. You know, something I hear, something I overhear, news, just driving to visit my parents. My brain starts whirling, and it's amazing. Ideas just have never been a problem for me.
Why boxing?
Well, I kept driving by this gym, and I saw a sign for boxing. And at the time, Jewel, the singer, the country singer, was taking boxing lessons. And I found out about that, and I thought, why not? Let's try it. It was scary for me, so it was like an out of the box. Let's challenge ourselves to do this. And I just haven't stopped since I started. And I decided to make my protagonist, Rocky Nelson, be a boxer, or at least take boxing lessons like I do, because that made her different from all the other amateur sleuths out there that own a tea shop or a bakery.
She owned a trailer for a while, too.
Yes, and so did I. Boy, when you say do the research, I went overboard on that. And let me tell you, owning a vintage trailer is a money pit. So I didn't own it for very long, but it definitely gave me what I needed to know about owning a vintage trailer. They're a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but you've got to have some cash.
How has Rocky evolved as a person over the course of your series?
So she has one big arc throughout the series where she had found her mother after her mother committed suicide from sleeping pills. And Rocky was 10 when she discovered her mom. And that sounds very sad, but I've made it an inspiration for Rocky throughout these 3 books. So her mother is like a guiding spirit for her. Yet Rocky has always felt guilty about her mother committing suicide. And she went through years of therapy to convince herself that she really wasn't the cause of her mother's death.
Suicide is a topic that a lot of us try to avoid. Why did you embrace it?
That's a good question. I needed the hero to have a flaw, and that was what I came up with. So yes, it is a difficult topic, but I feel I handled it in a really sensitive way and one that helps my character grow.
And Rocky is also participating in what we call in the trade a cozy mystery. How did you keep it cozy while giving her a love interest?
These are traditional mysteries with cozy tropes. And so it's involving an amateur sleuth in a small town setting. There's an animal. So there's a dog in the first book and a cat in books 1 and 2. They don't solve the mystery, though, like the mini cozy books. The violence happens off the page, and there's no gratuitous sex. Sorry to disappoint some of those readers out there, but Rocky does have a love interest that is shared between, if you will, between a former fiancé who is a firefighter and the handsome detective that she works with to solve crimes. And so there's a love interest, but there aren't any love scenes per se. There might be some kissing or some snuggling, but it's very tame. And in the last book, I do wrap up her love interest. She has to choose between the hot firefighter or the handsome detective, and readers will have to read the book to find out which one.
Is there anything autobiographical about Rocky beyond your fascination with sports?
It took me 5 years to write the first novel because I had written a lot of short stories and had them published, but I had never written a full-length novel. And I thought it was the easiest thing to write what I know. And so I made her be like me. She's a single older woman. In the book, she's 55 years old, and she is very active and in shape, but she's way braver than I am. I would never put myself in the situation she puts herself in. So there's parts of her character that are stronger than me in many ways, and she has a sister that she protects, and I don't have any sisters. I've had brothers, but I channeled my love-hate relationship with my brothers into this relationship between Rocky and her sister, Bridget.
Siblings are siblings.
Right?
How has your writing process evolved over the course of the series?
I have taught myself to go deeper into the characters, and I use a developmental editor that reminds me to get out of my head and tell the reader what my characters are thinking, especially Rocky, because I write from the first person point of view. And oftentimes as a writer, I have what Rocky's justifications are in my head, and I don't think that I have to spell that out to the reader, but I'm reminded by my editor to do that. So I am getting better at that and better at just delving deeper into the characters and not just make them two-dimensional and involve a lot of sensory detail. So the reader, it feels like they're right there on the page.
Karen Ann Phillips is our guest. We're talking about A Deadly Hook. It's book 3 in the Rocky Nelson series. Her website is KarenAPhillips.com. She's also a fantastic artist. And if you're an author who really wants the best possible cover design that you could ever hope for, there's nobody better than Karen Ann Phillips.
Thank you.
What makes a great character?
So I feel that a great character is someone that you want to learn more about. So the writer doesn't put everything out there right off the bat. You have to keep reading the stories to get to know that character, and you really want to root for that character. So the character has to be human. They have to have a flaw. They have to be strong. They have to have a goal that makes sense to the reader, that the reader feels is important to both the character they're reading about and to themselves. Because if they were in Rocky's shoes, would they want to keep doing what she's doing in order to solve the mysteries? I hope the reader thinks, yes, I want to go along on this ride with Rocky and until the bitter end. But they're never bitter ends. They're actually good endings. They're happy endings.
There are parts of Deadly Hook that made me laugh out loud. How do you balance humor with suspense?
That's a good question. I grew up in a family that there are a lot of funny people in my family. I am not a funny person. I completely appreciate anyone who can tell a joke or tell a wonderful story. So I'm always trying to tell a wonderful story that involves humor. And if I can make myself laugh out loud after I've written something, then I feel I've succeeded.
How do you do that while still developing character and atmosphere?
That is one of the biggest challenges. One of the things I strive hard to do is to have a hook at the end of, pardon the pun as far as the title goes, but a hook at the end of every chapter, so that whether it's a question or it's something that hasn't been resolved, so that you want to turn the page and find out what happens next.
What does boxing teach Rocky that helps her as a crime solver?
it gives her the courage and the strength to pursue something that might be dangerous, that other people might turn away from. She doesn't, it's not one of those, oh, you're too stupid to live kind of things. She does involve the police. She does go to the detective, and if she finds a clue, gives it to him. She's always talking to the detective, and sometimes it's annoying for him because he's trying to do his job and she's trying to do what she thinks is her job. And sometimes they work together, sometimes they butt heads. Yeah, I think boxing gives her that edge. She had to have a mindset to take boxing lessons in the first place, and she did when she was really young. And it's part of her personality. Like her sister Bridget is more of a cheerleader. Like she never gravitated to the boxing. It's part of Rocky's personality.
What's the hardest part about being a creative?
Getting my butt in the chair. There's always something else. It's not just squirrels. I love being outdoors, hiking. Yeah, there's so many other things. I love writing. It's just that being on the computer that long is hard for me, but I'm trying to do it more in sprints now. So it's not just a sit down and write for hours on end.
Why do you write?
I just love reading. I love a good story, and I like movies too, but there's something about the actual paper of a book. I'm not a Kindle person or an ebook reader. So just curling up in a chair or on a sofa and with that book just has always been my go-to, or being in a hammock and reading a book.
We all have people who've inspired us along this journey. Who are some of your writing mentors?
Oh gosh, Cindy Sample for one. She's a very popular humorous cozy author, and she lives in my neighborhood, so she's like a big sister to me. And then a lot of writers in the Sisters in Crime organization who have been so supportive, and in Capital Crimes, the Sacramento chapter, and other writing organizations I belong to. Everybody's just wonderful. I thought in the beginning it would be competitive, but it's not that way at all. We help each other, just like you do, Terry. You help so many writers. And then, of course, all the famous classic authors, Agatha Christie and Sarah Paretsky, and just, it's too many people to mention. It's a wonderful world out there, the writing community.
What do you hope people will take away from reading Rocky Nelson?
For one thing, I want them probably first and foremost to be entertained. And if they laugh, that's wonderful. If they come away with a good feeling in their heart, because it is a heartfelt series that, as I said, has a happy ending in each story. And if there's a little tear in their eye, that might happen too.
You've whispered to me that this third installment in the series will be the final Rocky book. What's next?
So I have another series in mind called the Mother-Daughter Detective Agency. That's the working title. And I'm really excited about it because I had a short story written that involved these characters that was published in an anthology a few years ago. And Penny Warner, she's a very well-known author, said I should make a series of that story. And so that's what I intend to do.
Will we see a book in 2027?
That's my plan. In fact, I bought a book by Becky Clark called 8 Weeks to a Complete Book. And so I want to adhere to her technique and see if I can make that happen.
What is that technique?
It's getting a certain word count each week, whether it's daily or weekly, and you just have to stick to that. Whether it's sprints or several hours in the chair or whatever, it's just all about discipline, really.
What's the happiest place you've ever been?
Oh my gosh. My family used to go vacation up in Oregon on the coast. It's about halfway up the coast in a little town called Neskowin. And those were some wonderful memories. I love the beach. I don't live near the beach, but you need to get a beach fix at least once a year.
Are you still going to spring training?
Oh man, I miss spring training. I haven't been. My dad turned 90 in December, and so he doesn't travel anymore. And so it's been a couple of years since I've been down there, but I used to go to Arizona to watch the Oakland A's because I was born in Oakland, California, and I really miss it. It's just a wonderful experience.
What question haven't I asked you that you wish that I had?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I guess just any advice for a writer, and that would be to join a writing group like Sisters in Crime or anything else. There's so many different organizations, and to just start writing and keep at it. Don't be afraid.
It feels like we join a writing club to learn how, but we stay for the friendships and the community. Has that been your experience?
Yes, I very much agree. In fact, I have a book launch this Sunday at a local bookstore, and I know a lot of Capital Crimes members will be there just to cheer me on, and it's just wonderful.
The book is A Deadly Hook. It's the third and final installment in the Rocky Nelson series. It is written by our special guest, Karen Ann Phillips. Her website is KarenAPhillips.com. This has been terrific, Karen. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you very much, Terry.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.